Hey everybody, this is Greg Gossett from Gossett Trading and Mentoring Live, and today is Friday, April 3rd, 2020. We are again in the final hour of the trading day and the final hour of the trading week. There we go. I mention this each day, but I think it is worth repeating each day because to me it's very important. I believe that the most valid time of the day to make your buying and selling decisions is in the last hour, particularly in the last few minutes. I say this because during the day, the algorithms, day traders, they're the ones battling it out. They're the ones moving the price. I consider it mainly noise. At the end of the day, the large financial institutions step in. They're coming in with size. They have the best technology. They have very smart people. They're dealing with the most money, and that is when they come in and make their decisions on the day, and they take the price control away from the day traders and the algorithms and move it to what is, my opinion, the most valid price of the day. So I like to piggyback on their decisions and make the majority of my buying and selling decisions right there in the last few minutes of the day. That being said, I did have a day trade today. Not too bad, worked out pretty well. I'll share that with you in a minute when we go over my positions. So anyway, thank you all for coming today. As always, I always look forward to seeing everyone. I think we have such a great group, such good comments and information and takes on things. I really appreciate you coming by every day. And like I said, I really do look forward to seeing you in the group. I think it's great that we can have a group here, bounce things off, learn some things. So thank you as always. I do appreciate it. Hey, Kamal is here. Hey, buddy. Good to see you, my friend. Always good to see Kamal. Hope you're having a good day. Brian is here. Hey, Brian, how you holding it up? Good to see you. Appreciate you being here. Brian says, hi, Greg and all. And Dan is here. Hi, Dan. Good to see you, sir. Appreciate you coming. Joe Turner. Hey, buddy. What's happening? Joe says, hi, everybody. Hey, Joe. How you doing? Miko25 is here. Hello, sir. How are you? I'm looking forward to our next lesson. And we are definitely going to make sure that we check the recording 2, 3, 4, 5 times this time, right? Andrea is here. Hello. How you doing, ma'am? Nice to see you. Always appreciate Andrea dropping by. Hi, lads. Hello, ma'am. Good to see you. Hey, Joe's got a poem for us. Let's go through this. Always look forward to Joe's poems. Go through your stocks and throw out the trash, then sit back and hold on to cash. When the market goes up and crosses that line, buying the strong stocks and you'll be fine. Oh, bravo. Let's do that one again. Go and listen to this. This makes a lot of sense. Go through your stocks and throw out the trash, then sit back and hold on to cash. When the market goes up and crosses that line, buy the strong stocks and you will be fine. Oh, bravo, Joe. You know, Joe is just spot on there because honestly, you know, when you see a downtrend, you know, when we have a market sell-off like we're having right now, a real indication of the ones that are going to bounce back are the ones that go down the least. That is why Joe is saying, you know, throw out the trash and stay into cash and look for the ones that, you know, look for the ones that have had the most relative strength, have held up the best. Those are the ones that are going to go up the quickest. But of course, you still need a signal, right? Thank you, Joe. Spot on. Andrea, Joe Turner, like that one. Absolutely. I like them all. Miko says, absolutely, Joe Turner. Thanks, Andrea. Brian, I want to buy tea. What do y'all think? I have not looked at AT&T for a while here. Well, my honest opinion on this, Brian, is I don't really see anything going on here. You know, we made this down move. We rallied. We didn't even get any green MACD. So even if we come back down and test this low here, we will not have a double bottom with a bullish divergence. Down 4.4% today. I don't really see on the weekly. So, you know, do what you're going to do, buddy. But in my opinion, I don't see a particular setup here. Frank, hey Frank, good to see you. Always nice to have Frank here. Appreciate you coming by, my friend. Andrew says, I'm watching VIX. It's been going sideways on low volume. Yeah, I have been noticing that as well. You know, when I talk about return to values, we're way above value. We've come into the value zone. We're consolidating. Remember, consolidating inside of the value zone is looks like a setup to me. I still need a trigger, but it's return to value. I don't want to buy up here overvalued. I want to buy here at value or undervalued. We have some real nice consolidation going on here, Andrea, and as we know, the longer you go sideways, the more of a move you're eventually going to make, either to the upside or the downside. Unfortunately, we just don't know what direction, and we don't know when it's going to happen, but it will happen. So we have to wait for some kind of trigger. For me, it would be a V1 or a V2 entry. Has the makings of a V1 here today. It washes out the previous low, but I would need a trigger. But yeah, I'm glad you're watching that. I have been watching that as well. Hey Zach, good to see you. Always nice to see Zach. Hope you're being safe out there, installing the doors and checking on the doors. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Okay, so here is the plan for today. First, we're going to run that US legal disclaimer. Secondly, we're going to come back. We're going to take a look at my current positions, talk about when I bought them, why I bought them, what methodology I was using, what my thoughts were, and then how I'm going to manage them going forward. After that, we have some people from the group that were kind enough to share some of their trades with us, and we're going to go by and take a look and see how those are doing. After that, we're going to spend just a few minutes on trader psychology, maybe just some good thoughts about trading, some good trading words of wisdom, something to think on, something to chew on. I always try to pick something that I think will be helpful for the group, and so we will talk about that as well. After that, we're going to go down through my watch list, take a look for any potential setups for me this afternoon. I repeat this also each day, but I have 3 requirements when I look to enter a trade. First, I need to see a confluence or a combination of indicators lining up. I look at each indicator like MACD and RSI, moving averages. I look at them as potential groups of buyers, and you will dramatically increase the chances of having a profitable trade if you are in the company of as many other buyers as possible. So if one indicator represents one potential group of buyers and another indicator represents another group and so forth and so on, then if those all line up, the way that I look at it is that these are different groups of buyers coming in at the same time. And like I said, you'll increase your chances dramatically for a profitable trade if you're with a lot of other buyers. And so that is my first requirement, confluence combination of indicators and or buyers lining up. Secondly, I want to make sure I have a good risk to reward. You can have a really good confluence of indicators, but yet not have a good risk to reward based upon resistance above you, like a major moving average or an RSI level. 3 steps to this. First, confluence of indicators. Secondly, good risk to reward ratio. I want to make sure I can make at least $200 or more to the upside based upon valid resistance and likely resistance above me compared to only losing $100 to the downside. So 2 to 1. Step 3 or requirement number 3, I want to make sure that my positions that I have are as uncorrelated as possible. I do not want to have 3 technology positions or 3 healthcare positions. That's just like buying one technology stock, but 3 times the size, right? So it's very important in trading to diversify the type of industries that you have. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. I might add, it's also very important to diversify your trading approaches. You want diversification in the types of industries you have and also in the type of trading setups and approaches that you have. And then lastly, account heat is very important. The maximum, I have a rule for myself, the maximum account heat I can take is 60% of my capital in my account. Even if they are completely uncorrelated, I'm never going to have more than 60% at risk. And I can tell you, I've mentioned this week, but that one little rule there has saved me tens of thousands of dollars in this horrible market. And so thanks to Steve Burns for teaching me that a couple years ago, because it is very, very helpful. So I'm going to take those 3 requirements at the end of the day. We'll go down through the list. I'll check off some potentials. And then at the end of the day, we'll get the fine tooth comb out and I will go through those potentials with the fine tooth comb and try to narrow it down to one, maximum two of two candidates in the end of the day, if we find any at all, right? If I find any at all, I'm not going to take anything unless it really meets those criteria. And I might also mention that adjusting for volatility, we've had such volatility, so if volatility has increased by 2, you probably want to decrease your position size by 1, by half, because a half position with double volatility is the same as a full position with normal volatility. So that's important as well. Then if I find something that qualifies at the end of the day, I'll go ahead, purchase it during the last hour of the market, or if I have any positions that are not working out well for me, I will exit those, if they go through my stop based upon my initial trade plan. Then after the market closes, if anybody has any questions for me, please let me know. If you need any clarification on anything, please let me know. Happy to do my best to answer your question, give you my humble opinion. If there's any stock symbols you'd like me to look at, please let me know. And also, if there are any stock symbols that you would like me to get my opinion on before the market closes that you think would be helpful for the group, please just type them in, put a star by it so I know that it's time sensitive, and I'll do my very best to get to them before the end of the close. All right, hang tight. I'm going to run that U.S. legal disclaimer, and I will be back in about 40 seconds. Thank you. This video or live broadcast, like all instructional materials produced by Gossett Trading and Mentoring LLC, is created and published for informational and educational purposes only. Please carefully read and/or listen to the U.S. government required disclaimer before watching this video or live stream broadcast. The video link and disclaimer text are located in the description section of this video or live broadcast, here and here. Thank you so much. Okay. Andrea says, MO is looking like a V2 in the value zone. I heard this the other day. I can't verify this, but I heard that MO, which is Altria, is working on some type of vaccine based upon the tobacco plant for the situation we're having right now. Did anybody see this? I mean, the person that told me I trust 100% said that they saw an article on this. Wouldn't that be the irony of all ironies? That Altria would create the vaccine? I mean, interesting, right? Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. It's a higher low. I don't know if it's triggered yet. Let's see. We have a close yesterday of 37.61. Yeah, it has triggered. Be nice if it could get above the 50 RSI, but that looks pretty good. Let's look at the weekly, Andrea. Back above the negative third ATR channel. Not too shabby. And it's up nicely today. Maybe that's why it's up. Interesting. Very, very interesting there. Thanks for pointing that out. Joe, hey, Mount Doji's here. Good to see you, buddy. But Andrea, I'm really glad that you sussed this one out here, because that's pretty good looking right there for sure. Mount Doji's here. Hey, bud. Good to see you. Joe Turner says, got into USO yesterday at 535, targeting the 50. Fantastic. Fantastic. I have also had a trade on USO. Not for my personal account, but for account that I managed. Well, I got in, I bought calls for the account that I manage. I bought a bunch of calls right here. I took advantage of this sidewards motion when the volatility was less to get a better price. Got out half there yesterday, got out half at the open. So the person that I managed their account, very happy with this. This is up... Just in the last 2 days, this is up almost 40%. So congratulations, Joe. I'm glad to see somebody was in on that. That's a monster. Wow. Um, Andrew says, what was your trigger? Trump. That's funny. Joshua, hey Josh, good to see you, my friend. Haven't seen you for a bit. Thank you for coming back and visiting us. Nice to see you. Joe says, and news. MO saving us from interesting. That's what I read. Maybe somebody confirm it, but that's what I read. Their scientists are working on the tobacco plant for some kind of something. I'm very hesitant to say anything about the situation going on right now because of me being in YouTube jail previously. I am out of jail. It's good news. But I'm really concerned about mentioning anything about that situation because of the AI. So you know what I'm talking about. Bing He, hey buddy, good to see you. Bing He's having some good trades today. Very good trades today. Okay, well, let's get started. All right, so I did buy Apple yesterday. Listen, it's under the 200-day. Volatility is huge. I only bought a quarter position, which today I'm very glad that I did. Right? It's like a no-win situation. If you have a small position size and it goes up, you're like, oh, I should have bought the. But I guess there is a little bit of a silver lining because if it goes down like it did today, I feel a little better much better actually, only having the quarter position. I did buy Apple yesterday at 244.90. We had a nice confluence of signals here. We had a higher low V1. You can see here, day one, day two washes out day one, closes above. Also rejected the 250-day, which is a good sign by itself. Also came back up into the value zone with MACD being positive. My trade plan for this particular trade is a close back below the 250-day. So as long as this holds above the 250, I will be keeping it. Gold. So this has been an interesting trade. I did buy this back here on the 26th of March. I bought this when we had a 520 crossover. It's a good back-tested crossover trade. It backtests profitably, does not win every single trade, obviously, but it gives you a good structure that gets you out quickly if you're wrong and lets you enjoy a big win if you are right. And that's really the key to trading. So I bought here at 153.92, went sideways, crashed down about 3 days later. I did sell half of my position. My trade plan was to get out of half of my position. If it closed below both the 5 and the 20, I kept the other half of the position waiting for the mechanical 520 cross under. And you hear me talk about different trading approaches, different exit approaches to vary it up. And so to me, that's the best half and half, 50-50, as some of my students will know. So 50% below, but I'm glad I kept on to that other half. It's up $1 today, which is really nice. No profit targets yet, but mechanical trade here going forward as long as the 5 EMA closes above the 20. Goldman Sachs also did take Goldman Sachs yesterday, had a nice confluence of signals, had a nice V1. Day one, day two, washes out day one, closes above, also rejected the -1 ATR channel, closed back up in the value zone, and on top of that, had a bullish engulfing bar, and it's a higher low V1. So bought it yesterday at 149.68. My stop is a halfway of the washout bar, a close below halfway of the washout bar. You can see, look at this. Almost exactly today, intraday, that's where it tested that 50% Fibonacci number. So as long as this stays above 145.92 on a closing basis, I will keep it. So down slightly on this. Again, under the 200-day, large volatility, I only took a quarter position. Okay, SPY trade. In case we have some new viewers today, want to quickly explain why I do buy the SPY every day at the close, hold it overnight, sell it first thing the next morning. So this is a back-tested, long-term back-tested study from Liz Ann Saunders at Bespoke Invest. I believe she's the chief financial officer for Charles Schwab. With this approach, they tested 2 different approaches from 1993, every day since 1993. First, buy the SPY at the open, hold it through the day, sell it at the close. If you use this approach every day since 1993, you would have actually lost a negative 13.9%. Second option is what I use. I buy the SPY at the close, hold it overnight, sell it first thing the next morning using this approach, 634.2% compared to the previous negative 13.9. So if I'm going to allocate capital towards something, I'm going to allocate it towards something that has good back-tested results. So past performance is no guarantee of future results. That is true. It may never work again, but again, I like the back test. I like the history on this, and so that is why I use it. 2020 has been a horrible year for this approach, whereas 2019 was a fantastic year for this approach. So, you can see in the long run, it does have a positive expectation, at least up until this point. But even in the past, even though it has been very profitable, there are drawdowns in between. This was like a year and a half and a year, right? So this has been 1/4 of a year, and it's been brutal. But I have faith in this. I position size conservatively so I can stay in this for the long run. If I'd have been using 100%, using this approach, it would have been smashed this year. But again, I only use a 10% position size at the maximum now because we're under the 200-day and we have the high volatility. I'm only using 1/4%. So it really kind of tones down the profits and losses. That being said, I did buy it here yesterday at 251.83. Got out for a small loss at 250.81. But in hindsight, very glad that I sold it at the close, or at the open, being that we are way down here 3 points lower or so. So anyway, I will be buying this again today, and I've definitely been in a drawdown. This move up here was great, right? Made back some of the losses from the big down move at the beginning of the year, but the last few days have been losers. But again, they're small losers. So Cisco. All right, so I did take an intraday trade on Cisco. This is a 39-minute bar. You can see we were above the 1 ATR channel. We came back down into the value zone. We stopped going down. We did have some sideways movement. I bought here on this bar, intra-bar. I didn't wait for the close. Intra-bar at 38.76. Sold it 39 minutes later at 38.90. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a $38 stock, so of course the shares were more. So anyway, it was a nice profitable trade. I did get out on this bar because sorry, it wasn't 39-minute bar. I got in here. It had rejected the 50 RSI and then closed under, and that's why I got out here. I looked at it a few minutes later. It was way up. I was like, oh shoot. But anyway, happy for the gain. And then lastly, like I said, I did buy oil. I did buy calls, January calls on oil back here about the 26th. Price was moving sideways, so the price of the calls went down, defined risk. A couple tough days down, stabilized, and then boom, 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 boom. So anyway, this was a fantastic trade, and those calls doubled in the last 2 days. And like I said, I sold half here. I sold half at the open, being that we were getting up close to the upper band of the 1 ATR channel, also the 20-day. So I got out a little early, but very, very happy anyway for that trade. All right, here we go. Bing He. Bing He bought Clorox back here on the 27th at 175.05. Went up, down, sideways again. Yesterday had a really nice day. I don't think Bing He takes partial profits, though, because of the commissions there in Singapore. So that's fine. You don't have to take partial profits. It's just a personal preference. Today it was up higher, now back down. So anyway, still in the money for Bing He. Bing He, if there are any changes, please let me know. Back to Cisco. Kamal did buy Cisco yesterday. I believe this is on a weekly, so I believe he will be getting out at 38.64. If he is wrong, currently it's 38.82. So if you have any changes on that, Kamal, please let me know. Back over to Bing He. Bing He did buy the ProShare short Russell, so he is short the Russell, even though this is going up. It's an inverse. He bought it at 51.62 yesterday. Up nicely today, 3.81%. What I do like about today's price action is yesterday we went up and reversed back down with the V1, which is bearish. But today we went from a negative V1 right back up. So we had the high, we went higher, closed lower. Today it went above that day one's close. That is why it painted the green triangle here. And you know, it looks to me very likely this could get up to this first ATR channel at a minimum. So nice trade there. And then being he also shorted CoStar yesterday on the 2nd at 528. It rallied the end of the day, I remember, but now Bing He is in the profit. The only thing I mentioned to Bing He is, you know, here we have a low, we have a rally, we're coming back down. We haven't tested the low, but if we do test the low, which certainly could happen, we would have a really nice bullish divergence here. So from a short position, you know, I would definitely be, it doesn't mean it can't go down and test. It doesn't mean it just can't go down any further. You know, if I were short, I would definitely be aware of that. Andrew says, yes, I noticed you popped up right when I logged into YouTube. What did you have to do to get out of jail? I really don't know what I did to get out of jail. I joked yesterday that, you know, I did have a call with the tech guy that I know up in Canada. And I just basically explained the situation just to see if he had any input. And he really didn't. He said, I think it will resolve itself. Then the next day, it came up. So I guess my tech guy is so good that all I have to do is talk to him about it and it mysteriously fixes it. But anyway, I'm very, very grateful about that. Hey, Frank. Frank says, Frank, we have a poem. Respect your money. It doesn't grow on trees, and it does provide life's necessities. So before you swap it for a stock and join the trading flock, please be cautious. Let it weigh, lest your money fly away. Very good and so true. Respect your money. It doesn't grow on trees, and it provides life's necessities. So before you swap it for a stock and join the trading flock, please be cautious. Let it weigh, lest your money fly away. Bravo, Frank. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. And I will post those. People really like that on Twitter. They like Joe and Frank's posts. Zach, Greg, would you mind just showing real fast what makes something a bullish engulfing bar? Yeah. Okay, here's Goldman Sachs yesterday. Do you see how the low of the day was lower than the previous day and the high of the day is higher than the previous day? So not only did it recover from the low of yesterday, not only did it recover from going lower, but it also was strong enough to actually make it higher. So a bullish engulfing bar is if the low is lower than the previous day and the high is also higher than the previous day. So I hope that helps. Hey, Marco, good to see you, my friend. Hope you're having a nice evening in Slovenia. Appreciate you being here. If there's anything I can help you with, Marco, let me know. Greg, Kamal says, Greg, on your SPY trade, I saw someone else showing a chart where buying the open and selling the close was profitable during this crash, especially after we hit the low. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that because there are many days that I sold at the low and it rallied back up. So I think the key there, though, Kamal, is, you know, looking at the long-term back test. And the long-term back test, you know, with a lot of years, shows that that approach actually has a negative return. Doesn't mean it always will, but if you take a big sample size. But yeah, I believe that. I believe that for sure. Hey, Steve Burns, good to see you, my friend. Appreciate you being here. It's always an honor and a privilege to have Steve in our chat. I really, really mean that. I mean, I just think it's such a treat for us to actually be able to rub shoulders and have Steve in here, maybe ask him a question every once in a while. But thank you, Steve, for coming. Hope you and the dogs and Holly are doing well. And thank you so much for including me on your Twitter list today. I always appreciate that. Steve says, hey, Hey, Kamal, over what time period did you see that? This is a change in the historical price action. Maybe day traders have taken over in this environment. Interesting. Steve says DG has one of the best looking charts on the market right now. And by the way, Steve, I was listening to your weekly newsletter last night. Great as always. And I'll tell you what, if you haven't gone to Steve's website, which is newtraderu.com, I would really suggest it. He has some, the 3 times a week market video newsletter is just great. He goes down through his watch list. He breaks it down. He gives you his thoughts on things, and might be a good balance to this show. And I subscribe to it myself. I just think it's really great. My favorite line, Steve, yesterday was a little line that you had at the end. You were talking about Walmart, and at the very end, you're like, "It's freaking Walmart." It made me laughed out loud, just because of the volatility and the movement of Walmart. But I've never heard you say anything like that, so I just laughed, like just came out. Okay, DG. Woo. Boy, look at that. Very, very strong. Kind of makes sense, right? Guess this little buy above the 200 would have made sense. MACD's positive, about a 60 RSI, getting up there a little bit. Let's look at the weekly. Yep. Big down, big up. But yeah, pretty nice even move up. Kamal says the dates were February 18th to April 2nd. Yeah, that seems about the time I lost the most money using that. Kamal says most of their profits were after March 23rd. Bastian, hey, how you doing? Nice to have you back. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. Frank says, thank you, Greg and Joe. You are welcome. Zach says, helps. Thanks, Greg. You're welcome. Thanks, Greg. Steve says, Kamal, that is too small of a sample size to have much meaning in the long term. Freaking Walmart is even volatile. It just came out like it was a reflex, and you're like, freaking Walmart. I was like, Steve, holy smokes, I haven't seen that side of Steve. That was great. Okay, how we doing on time? Short as always. Okay, so listen, everybody. Before we go down through my watch list, before I start looking for potential entries today, remember 3 criteria: combination, confluence of indicators. Number 2, good risk to reward ratio, at least 2-to-1. 3, make sure that positions are not too correlated, and always take into account your account heat, meaning how much of your capital you have in any positions, all your positions. Even if they are completely uncorrelated. 60% is my maximum. But there's some really good Facebook channels out there, some really good Twitter channels out there that post some really good thoughts on trader psychology or just good trading words of wisdom. I think these people spend a lot of time and energy and burn a lot of calories on doing this, and I really am appreciative. So when I go through and I find something that I think would be helpful or relevant or timely for what we're dealing with, I'd like to do a few minutes on it. But this is from 2 wonderful people. Uzair Hussein, he's over on Facebook. He has a great channel there. And also, of course, our good friend Steve Burns. And so Uzair shared this post that Steve put out. So let's see what Steve has to say. And here's Steve right here. How you doing, buddy? Quit trying to predict the future and learn how to react to the present. Listen, you know how many times people ask me, hey, Greg, what do you think the market's going to do? And I would, with a good conscience, I couldn't say it's going to do this or that, because I don't know what it's going to do. Like, I have my thoughts on it, but I'm not going to base my trades off my thoughts. But yes, quit trying to predict the future. You don't have to do it. I know it seems like sometimes you have to, but you really don't. You just have to react to what's going on in the present. Do not look for a good trade. Instead, look for a great winning methodology to trade with. See the difference? Right? I mean, to me, they kind of go together, right? But a trade by itself is just a trade, right? It's pretty much random. what you really need to look for is a good trading methodology. Even the best trading methodologies are going to have drawdowns. No doubt about it. Doesn't mean they're bad, but instead of just spending time looking for a good trade, what you think is a good trade, spend time, energy, work on what is a great winning methodology that will win over the long run, similar to the overnight SPY trade, right? Knowing when not to trade is a skill in itself. And I mention this all the time, and Steve's totally right. There's a skill in being able to read charts. There's a skill in being able to identify support, resistance levels, entries, exits, all that kind of stuff. That is a skill for sure. But after that, you have to have a whole other skill set, and the skill set is following your plan. And if your plan is that you don't have a setup, then you don't trade, right? One of the great skills in the world is just not trading, or not knowing when to trade. It's very important. So the skills of technicals, and the skill of knowing when not to trade, or when you're in a trade, following that trading plan. So that's Steve Burns at S. Joseph Burns, trader and author. He's over on Twitter. So I would definitely recommend that you follow him. And thank you, Uzair Hussein. I appreciate that, my friend. Thanks for posting this, because I think it's really, really relevant. Okie doke. Kamal says, Steve Burns, yes, agreed. The data point that we might be interested in is that we were seeing buying during the daytime and gap down overnight. Yep. We always have to look at the long-term picture of these things, because anything can in the short run. Steve says, oil shorts got whipsawed viciously for the past 2 days. Imagine being short futures and no technical or fundamental reason for the rally, just a Trump talking point on production cuts. Yep. Well, I'll tell you, I'm grateful for whatever reason that I took that trade. Again, I took it because of the decreased volatility moving sideways, the call options, which are defined risk, meaning you can only lose so much. So that is why, and it stopped going down. That's the other reason. Had a few days here that weren't looking so good, and then blasted off. And like I said, I sold half of his contracts yesterday. You know me, I like to sell half of things when I'm not quite sure, and I'm glad I held on to the other half here. But at this point, I am out of that position on the calls for whatever reason. Let's look over on the weekly. That is a bullish engulfing bar, Zach. See on the weekly, see how this bar is lower than last week's bar, and now it is higher than last week's bar. That is a bullish engulfing bar. Okay. Hey, Glenn, good to see you, my friend. Appreciate you coming by. Glenn says, hi, Greg. I've been sitting on my hands for the last few weeks and plan to do so until May 20th, or May 2020. Sounds like a good idea, my friend. It really, really does. I mean, of course, we never know what's going to happen, but that has been the right approach, especially from the long side. Bing He says, USO has rejected 20 EMA yesterday, which caused me not to take the trade. Seems like news overrides technicals. Well, yeah, I don't disagree with that. I from a technical standpoint, I don't think I would have bought it yesterday. But listen, I actually mentioned this yesterday. One thing is that look how long it's been since we have been under the 10-day moving average. Months and months and months and months. Yesterday, it actually popped over the 10-day moving average and back into the value zone. So, if there was anything to take a look at, it's this. And we also took out this fractal. Fractal is a high with 2 lower highs to the left, 2 lower highs to the right. And we had a false breakout to the downside. So, if I would have taken this trade, probably I would have taken it here when we had the false breakout and the close above the negative third, but I didn't take it. Bought the calls back here. But anyway, it has rejected the 1 ATR channel. So anyway, if there's any change there, Frank, let me know. Steve Burns says, why Renaissance Technology Technologies had a 17% drawdown and a 20% drawdown for Dalio in March. A lot of quant funds got hammered in this because there is no pattern to this. One macro trader told the new Post. Yeah, well, I can understand why they had such a big drawdown. I mean, Renaissance uses approaches like the overnight SPY trade, not only, but similar kind of thinking. And then Ray Dalio had a 20% drawdown. So look, these are two of the most world famous traders in the world. One of them had a 17% drawdown and the other a 20. So I guess they're human, but even the best traders in the world have drawdowns. So if you're having a drawdown right now, don't let it get to you. It happens to everyone. Glenn says Doc is pulling back. Into the value zone. Watch to see if it hits the 200 SMA. I agree. But yeah, actually, the way that I'm looking at this is, we were above the 1 ATR channel. We've come back into the value zone, but we've gone down. If I could see some stabilization and then a V1 or V2, that would also be an area possibly for an entry, as well as, if it doesn't hold, looking for a good bounce off the 200-day for a good risk to reward. Steve says, congrats on those USO calls, Greg. Just outstanding. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I wish I would have taken them as well, but I did not. But I'm glad for my buddy that I trade that account. So, but thanks, appreciate that. How are we doing here? All right. Okay. Apple, my trade plan is a close under the 250. We'll see if that holds at the end of the day. Adobe, don't see anything here under the 200. Amazon, what I'd like to see on Amazon, we had this break above the 200. I'd like to come back, test that 200-day, close back above. It would give me a higher low break back over the 200 compared to this one, which is a lower low break. But if we could go back down, test that 200 inside the value zone, would be fantastic. So nothing there yet. Boeing earlier in the day was working on a V2, but it doesn't look higher low V2, so it doesn't look like that's going to hold. Berkshire, I don't see anything there either. Beyond Meat, nope. Caterpillar's been pretty strong here. Closed above the 1 ATR channel. Like to see this pull back into the value zone and look for a higher low V. Look for a sideways movement of V1, V2. Okay, I added Carnival Cruise Line, which looks super scary, right? But look, this is a beautiful double bottom with the bullish divergence. Unbelievable. Look at this. Here we have a low with deep MACD bars. We rally, painting some nice screen bars. Dr. Elder calls this breaking the back of the bear. We are back down here now, testing the lows. And do you see, even though we went lower, we have no red? Even smaller red would be valid. This is called a double bottom with a missing right shoulder, meaning there is no red, which is even more valid. Now, just because it gets down here does not mean that I can buy this. I need a trigger. Well, yesterday we were under 30. Today we're at 29.69. So if this does close above 30, I will go ahead and buy a position. It will only be a quarter position, again, because of the volatility of this stock and because it's under the 200. But this is what Dr. Elder considers a double bottom with a bullish divergence. And my trigger on this would be a close under and back over the 30. It would also be a false breakout to the downside. This went lower than here. So I don't know if this is going to trigger today. I'm going to have to watch it. But if it does, I will buy it. Dow Jones, we were in the low 30s. We got right up to the 50 RSI. Great example of resistance at the 50. Been looking for a higher low V1. Don't see anything. In an ideal world, I'd like to see this come back down to the low here. So it's very similar to Carnival, right? Low, rally, low, bullish MACD. The Dow Jones will have a double bottom with the bullish divergence if it comes down here, but we don't know. Disney down today. Glad I did not take that V1 yesterday. If you remember, I wanted to be pretty conservative on my approaches yesterday and narrow them down to the both. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I keep forgetting this. Before I go through the watch list, I want to remind myself and I want to remind everyone else to please choose wisely today if you are going to make a trade or take a position. Ask yourself, do I really need it? Is it really a setup, right? I know it's a little hokey, but listen, you know, if you get it in your head right before, you know, maybe you're looking to take a trade, then maybe it will help you choose wisely today. Diana Cooper. Thanks, Diana. Don't know who you are, but this is a great post. So let's everybody choose wisely today and every day. Okay. Etsy. Etsy up today, up 8.8%. I think they are having some of their vendors make masks. So it's pretty good. Guess that is a V2. I think I'm just going to pass on that though. Facebook. Woof. Look at Facebook. Again, I'd like to see Facebook come down, test these lows with the double bottom bullish divergence. Gold, doing good. No profit targets yet today, but doing well, so I'm glad I have that. Google, getting hit today pretty good. Again, I'd like to see a confluence of a 30 RSI and a double bottom. Goldman Sachs, I do have pretty close to my stop. I'm going to have to watch that one at the end of the day. Home Depot, don't really see anything there. IBB, what I'd like to see on IBB is I'd like to see a 1030 crossover, or 530 EMA crossover. That back test well. Here's the 5, the gray is the 30. I have to wait for that to cross over. So nothing today, but maybe something in the future. Intel, just playing around that 200-day moving average. IWM, down. I told you about that count I managed, the one that we had the calls in the USO. Also have the puts in the Russell, so those puts are really going up in value. So if it gets down here to the low with the bullish divergence, then I might suggest that we get rid of those puts. Johnson & Johnson tested the 200. CarMax had earnings, didn't go down from there, so I guess that's good, but no setup. Coca-Cola, don't see anything on Coke. Lockheed Martin, was considering taking that yesterday, but did not because it was just too high. The closing price was right up there at the 1 ATR channel. MasterCard, I would like to buy MasterCard again if we can get down, test this low, have that beautiful double bottom with the bullish divergence, and probably still have positive MACD. Mickey D's, no. Merck, don't see anything there either. Microsoft, I'd like to see Microsoft reject the 200-day below and close above. That I would take an entry because then I would have a higher low test of the 200 or a higher low close below, break back above, right in the value zone. That's perfection. Netflix, pretty strong, coming back into the value zone, looking for sideways movement. Nike, I don't see anything here. Philip Morris, again, I was considering taking Philip Morris yesterday on this V2, but I just decided that based upon my stop, which is halfway the washout bar, and based upon my profit target, which would have been about the 200-day, it didn't make sense from a risk to reward ratio. So anyway, I'm glad I followed my rules, thought logically about it, and did not take it, at least today, because it is down. PayPal, don't see anything there. The Qs, do not see anything there either. Silver, could take this if we have a 520 crossover, but that's not there yet. S&P, we'll take that again tonight. Did have a small loss on that today. Teladoc, we talked about that. Or no, that was DocuSign. But again, we made a lower high here, so really what I would need this to do is I need this to wash out this low before I would get interested. Bonds, much higher earlier, rejected the 1 ATR channel, nothing there. Tesla had a big day, but look at this. Here's a V2, right? Here's day 1, day 2, washes out day 1, day 3 is above day 1, but Look at this huge, huge gap. I can't take V1s with a gap. So nothing on Tesla. Twitter up a little bit today. That's positive. UAL looks like it went under 30, over 30, but I like CCL better because of the test of the double bottom. So I don't know if this is going to trigger, but we'll see. Natural gas. Whoa, look at that. That's a big day on natural gas. Nice V2. Rejection of this previous low. Really nice, actually. Rejection of the third ATR channel. I don't think I'm going to take this just because we're here at a 42.92 RSI. My stop would be way down here. I just don't think it would make sense, but it does look pretty good. United Health Group. No. Oil. We talked about oil a lot. VIX. Oh, look at that. VIX moved here in the last little bit to the downside from that sideways movement. So Monday could be a really nice V2. Verizon. No. Walgreens. Double bottom, testing these bottoms here. I don't see anything interesting there. Freaking Walmart. Up nicely. Walmart's been strong. Walmart has been strong. Really inside this huge bar. So how are we doing on time? Energy. No. Financials. No. Real estate. No. Utilities, no. Healthcare, holding, but I don't see anything. Zoom video, back down into the value zone. Stop moving sideways for one day. If I could get another day of sideways in a B1, B2. So, all right. So I better take a look and see on my current positions before I mess with anything new. Apple does look like it's going to close above the 250, so that's positive. Gold's doing well. Goldman Sachs tested the halfway. Looks like that's going to hold. SPY, going to buy that at the close. Cisco. Kamal has this. I think his trade plan is to hold it over the 200, but if I'm wrong, let me know, Kamal. And oil, I am out of oil, so get rid of that. So it looks like the only thing for me to even contemplate today is, by the way, I went through some of the weekly charts also to possibly take a weekly. I didn't see anything that I liked. Carnival Cruise Line. If this closes above the 30 RSI with an under over 30 with this double bottom and bullish divergence, test of the bottom on the weekly, I will go ahead and take a very small quarter position. So we'll see what happens in the next 6 minutes. GSX getting hammered with fallout from LK. Oy vey. Look at that. Yeah, that doesn't look too good. Andrew says Verizon had a V2 that triggered yesterday, also confluence with the 520 crossover. Let's take a look. Yeah, I don't think the 520 crossover is a valid crossover, Andrea, if I remember correctly. I mean, look, anytime you have a crossover, it's better than nothing, for sure. And it did have a V2. It had a gap, but it filled the gap. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. The only thing I would have to take into consideration is my risk to reward. My reward, or my risk, is down here about 4%. Up to the 200 gives me about 4.9%. So not saying it's not a valid setup, but the risk to reward to me, just looking at this, of course I don't know for sure, but the risk to reward to me looks like it's about 1-to-1. That's why I personally wouldn't take it. Kamal says, Greg, I will exit Cisco if it closes below 38.65. Yep, that makes sense. 38, yep. All right, we'll watch that one. Bing He says GSX has a decent descending wedge pattern, which broke down today. If we do projection, it will go down till around 23. Well, I'll tell you what. Well, let's look at it on the weekly. Whenever I see a bar that is larger than 1 ATR, whether it's on the monthly or the weekly or the daily, if I see a bar that's larger than 1 ATR that comes into the value zone, my experience has been that more times than not, it will go down and test the lower negative 1 ATR channel. So I think that kind of dovetails with what you're saying, Bing He. Glenn says, if you follow cycles, market is due to make a low middle of next week. Watch for a test of 2200 on Wednesday, April 8th. Oh, thank you, Glenn. That's very precise. Well, I wouldn't doubt it. This is just my opinion. I'm not trading this way, but you've heard me say several times, I'd like to see the S&P come down here, test this low, right, with a double bottom bullish divergence. That is where I would really get interested in taking some positions. Frank says, I too have been watching CCL, but I call it a salvage trade because it feels like a sunken ship. Haha. Yeah, I agree. But again, I just try not to have my feelings get in the way of a trade. I'm with you 100%. But, if it triggers, I will go ahead and take this with a very small position, quarter position. But it has to close above 30. So as of right now, I won't take it, but I will get it queued up just in case. For a quarter position. So we'll watch it. I'll have to watch this one pretty carefully here. Let me quickly look. Apple looks okay. Gold's good. Goldman Sachs looks fine. SPY, grabbing that at the end of the day, and Cisco. So I can get rid of that Cisco right there. So looks pretty good so far for Kamal. And I will get this queued up for CCL just in case. So we have about a minute left for the week. Been happy with the week, has been profitable week all in all, so I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for any green weeks in this kind of environment. Alrighty. I'm glad that CCL has only a 1 penny spread on the bid ask, so that's good. So 30 seconds. Doesn't look like it's going to. Three, two, one. Oh. All right, so I did not buy CCL. It did nice setup, but it didn't give me the trigger that I was looking for. So SPY bought at 248.19 for the overnight SPY trade. Okay. Okay, 248.19. All right, 248.19. So, listen, if you have any other questions or comments or observations or jokes or anything, please type them in the chat. We'll discuss it. If you want me to look at any other symbols, please discuss it. But before I do, just real quick, just want to put in my regular daily plug. I hope that's okay with you. But I do offer private one-on-one coaching and teaching lessons in the evening time via Skype. I really do love to teach. I have been trading for 24 years. I've studied with some very great and well-known traders such as our friend Steve Burns and Dr. Alexander Elder and Kerry Lavorne and Larry Williams. And in my course, I teach everything I've learned from all of those coaches and mentors and teachers and everything I've discovered in my experience in 24 years. And so I do have a course. It's 5 sessions. Each session is between 2 and 3 hours. It's just one-on-one. It's just you and I in real time. I teach you all the different setups that I use. We talk a lot about trading psychology. We talk about creating a plan. We talk about position sizing correctly, correlations, all the stuff that I teach here. I don't teach anything in those classes that I don't teach here, but the difference is it's one-on-one. And also the other big difference is that in this situation, you're just listening to what I say, but in the classes that I teach, the one-on-one classes that I teach, I teach and then I ask you questions. I have you teach it back to me. I throw curveballs at you. We do a lot of chart study where I have you break down the chart. What looks good? What looks bad? What are the pros? What are the cons? What's your risk to reward ratio? Did we take the trade? If so, where's our stop? And then we do a lot of day by day chart study where, okay, we took it. What are you doing here? Are you still in? Are you out? Are you taking profits? So anyway, I think it is a really good course. It's $1,000, but I think it is really well worth the money. I think it's worth every penny, really. So, if you're sitting around at night and you don't have too much to do because of the quarantine and you'd like to take the lessons, I would love to teach you. What I normally do with a prospective client is I like to have a Skype call with them, just kind of a get to know you call. There's no obligation. It's totally free and there's no pressure to take the course. I promise you. I just want to make sure we're a good fit. I want to know, what your trading experience has been, what your challenges have been, what your goals are, your frustrations, all that kind of stuff. And then you can ask me any question you like as well, and then, if we think we're a good fit for each other, then we can schedule the calls in the future. And usually, the classes with me, the online classes with me are, anywhere from 1 time a week, even up to 3 times a week, just depending on what your time frame is. But anyway, if you'd like to reach out to me and schedule that Skype call, it would be great. It'd be great to see you face to face, put a name to the face, or face to the name, excuse me. And if you'd like to, just send me an email. The email's in the description of this video here, this YouTube video here. And you can also message me on Twitter as well. And we'll set it up. We'll have a Skype call and it'll be good to chat. So please let me know. And then also, if you like today's content and you find it helpful, I really would appreciate it if you could hit the thumbs up button before you get out of here. Helps to grow the channel, helps YouTube to know that there's some useful information here. And if you didn't like it, then hit the thumbs down, right? Let's keep it real, right? But anyway, thumbs up or thumbs down, whatever you feel good about. If you could do that, I would appreciate it. All right, so that's that. Bing, he says, for CCL, today's bar looks something like a doji. It don't look convincing. Well, look, the close is above the open. That's always positive, right? I look at that as more positive than negative. But again, being what I really like is double bottoms with a bullish divergent is what I studied one-on-one with Dr. Alexander Elder. He feels like this is the most accurate, most powerful form of technical analysis there is a double bottom with a bullish divergence. And the reason why is, you have this first down move on really deep red MACD bars. MACD bars are measuring momentum. So you have momentum, then we rally, right? Then a lot of times when you rally, you will come back down and test. A test of the bottom just by itself is good, but it's better when that second move down does not have any red, has very small MACD bars, less than half of the first move, or in this case, it's even better where you test the bottom, but you have no red bars. So this is even stronger than a double bottom with the bullish divergence. This is a double bottom with the bullish divergence and a missing right shoulder, meaning even though we've come all the way back down, there is no red. It's still MACD. MACD is still above the signal line, right? And we also have other things going on here. Look at the low here. We are beyond the 6 ATR channel on this low. Over here, even though we're lower, we're only at the second ATR. That's another divergence called an ATR channel divergence. We have a low here. Look how deep the MACD is. Now we have a low here. Look how high the MACD is. So we have a double bottom with the bullish divergence and a missing right shoulder. We have an ATR divergence and we have an RSI divergence. Pretty strong all in all. The only thing it's missing is, it's a good setup. It's just missing a trigger. Kamal said, I sold Cisco $40 calls next week for 57 cents. All right, so I think Kamal is still in this weekly trade, right? Yep, and he did sell some $44 calls for next week to sell a little premium above. Glenn says, Square. Oh, I haven't seen Square for a while. Thanks for pointing that out, Glenn. Square 44 getting hammered with all small businesses out of the market. Would be interesting in a few months to see if it would drop to 35. Yeah, same thing I was talking about, Glenn, with CCL and a lot of things, is if we come down here, would you say $35? All right. Well, look, $35 is going to be very near a test of this low. It will also have a nice double bottom with a bullish divergence. Almost every chart out there, major chart out there, will have a double bottom with a bullish divergence. And like you said, it's right around here, that $35 level. Glenn says SP 500, 2488, close below 10 EMA. Let's look at this here. Yep, close below the 10 and the 5, which is a signal for the next leg down. Could be, definitely could be. On the other hand, if we go, oh no, sorry. I saw a V1 here that did not exist. Yep, it's hard to know. It's hard to know. But from a technical standpoint, closing below 5 and 10, it's not bullish, right? Like Marty Schwartz says, red light above the 10, red light under. Zach says, how could one not enjoy this every day? Oh, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Well, I'm glad you're finding it helpful for sure. Bots John says, have a nice weekend. Bye. Thank you. Appreciate that, Bots John. Appreciate you coming by and hope you have a nice weekend as well. Yesterday I was really tired in the last part of the live stream because I've been under the weather and I was exhausted. Anyway, I took Katie out for a little bit walk, came home, fell into bed at about 5 o'clock. I woke up at 10. You know that feeling when you have had a huge nap and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to sleep tonight? This is horrible. You know that feeling when you wake up, you're like, well, maybe I can sleep through it all the way to the next morning, but I hadn't fed Katie. I was like, I can't do that. So anyway, yep, I laid in bed, could not sleep because the nap got me. But anyway, I do feel better today for sure. And I would like to congratulate Dr. Jorgensen. He got his new huge RV today. This thing's beautiful. It looks like he's a member of the Rolling Stones. It's like a rock and roll coach, so he's going to be cruising around in that, in style, in luxury. So anyway, I'm glad he got his RV that he's always wanted to get. So I look forward to seeing that. Okay, well, just to kind of follow up here. Okay, so Kamal's good on his weekly chart on Cisco. I like it. It's, it was to the upside. It rejected the 200-week intra-week, closed above it. Gives him a good risk to reward ratio. By all means, it doesn't mean it has to go up, but it does give him a good risk to reward ratio. Clorox, being he, looks like a little down today, but still positive on the trade, above the major moving averages. So that looks pretty good, being he. RWM, very nice trade here that he took yesterday at 51.62, is up 2.87%. And then his CSGP, right about even, slightly positive, because he got in at 528. So anyway, being he's had some good trades lately, bud. Made some good decisions, got out of Netflix, which was fantastic because it went down. Glenn says, really enjoy all your comments. It helps in these volatile times. Oh, thank you, Glenn. I appreciate that, bud. Really appreciate that coming from you. Thank you. And thank for your comments and your observations. Glenn is really good at levels and, some different approaches than what I teach. So thank you. The more, the better. Andrea says, glad to hear you're feeling better. Thank you, Andrea. I really appreciate it. And I hope you're doing well. Hope you're hanging in there. I was telling Bruce about you the other day with your ham radio and a pilot. Andrea knows how to do a lot of things. Being he says, GSX looks interesting for shorting. Maybe I study further before I decide. When I studied with Dr. Alexander Elder, he said trading is like the four seasons of weather, right? The four seasons we have. He prefers to short in the summertime, not in the winter time. He would consider this is the winter time. He would basically say most of the move is already there. He would probably be looking to buy. He likes to buy in the winter, sell in the summer, short in the summer, cover back in the winter. So, a lot of the move is gone. I'm not saying it can't go down further. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of the move, a lot of the cream is off the top. Let's look at the weekly. Well, I was just telling you though, if you have a bar that's larger than 1 ATR that closes in the value zone, very likely, yeah, it could go down to $25. It really could. But anyway, let us know what you do. Probably my take on this. Look, we got down today to a 33 RSI. Getting a little low on the RSI, but it doesn't mean it can't go lower. Doesn't mean it can't close below. Just my humble opinion. Obviously, not telling Bing He what to do whatsoever, but just if I was looking at shorting this, I would probably want to short a first rally than on weakness. But that's just me. Andrew says, I like anything that moves. Cars, boats, airplanes, canoes, ATVs. Hey, you sound like you and Bruce should go out and do these things, because he has had beautiful cars. He's had, well, I don't know about, yeah, he had a boat. He had a catamaran in the Caribbean. Airplanes. He had an airplane, I think, that he rented. He just bought a canoe, Andrea. He just bought this beautiful canoe, lacquered. I think he bought it up in Wyoming. ATVs, he had a ton of those. Man, you two are peas in a pod. If he drives out on the East Coast, you two should get together and talk boats, airplanes, canoes, and ATVs. Miko says, thanks, Greg. Have a great weekend. You too, sir. I appreciate it and look forward to our next lesson. Joe said, I day traded PLNT today and made some good day trade money. Figured people weren't going to the gym much these days and it was in a downtrend. Oh, is that Planet Fitness? Yeah. Well, just like everything else, came to the 30, back into the value zone, rejected that 50 and all the way back down. Nice. Nice, Joe. Being he said, this is a story about a general. This is a story about a general who wrecked all his ships to cut off their escape route and proceed to fight the battle. Is like either he wins or he dies. I somehow feel my situation is like that. Well, my thoughts on that, I'm not exactly sure what that's saying, but my thoughts on that is I don't think trading should be do or die. I don't think it should be, I either have to make money or I'm either going to make a ton or I'm going to blow up my account. Again, you hear me say this all the time, being he, but in my opinion, trading is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not do or die. It's not betting all your money on one trade or one period in time, but looking at it at the long term. Andrew says, where does Bruce live? He lives in California, near Palm Springs, but he's going out. But man, you two would be fast friends. I tell you that. Kamal says, I thought there was horse riding too. Oh yeah, I think she did mention horse riding. She does everything. She does everything, Kamal. All right, so what's happening after hours? Not that it matters too much. Apple is up. That's good. Gold is down. Goldman Sachs is up. Nice, nice, nice. SPY is up. Oh, fantastic. Well, it's a long weekend, so we don't know what's going to happen. Were the indexes up or down for the week? Let's take a little look-see and see. Oh, they were down. They were down on the week. Q's slightly down on the week. And the Dow Jones down on the week. Yeah, on the weekly here, the indexes are having a problem with that 200-day, which is not surprising. Yep. Rejection here, rejection here, rejection here on the SPY. All right. Well, Andrew says, yes, forgot that. How could I that seems to be all I do these days since I can't go to the office. Well, I'm glad you're out there riding, Andrea. Andrew says, I had a ticket to fly to California on 325, but obviously didn't go obvious. Yeah. Well, does anybody have any plans for the weekend? Anything exciting? I have a lesson with one of my students on Saturday night, so I'm looking forward to that. I always look forward to lessons with my students. I mean, I really do. Like when I have a lesson with the student that night, I'm like, sweet, I have a lesson tonight. I like to teach. I like to see when the students kind of have those aha moments. And little second plug, if you're interested in lessons with me, let me know. I sincerely look forward to them. And I think you will too. Dan says, Greg, if one is super stressed out about market do or die, would a break from trading be a good idea? Maybe refocus, look at past trades and paper trade. Sure, absolutely. There's nothing wrong ever, Dan, with just taking a step back from trading. The market's always going to be there, hopefully, right? And give yourself a break mentally. Refocusing on past trades, looking at that, I think is an excellent idea. I always go back and look at my trades, and I kind of try to look and go, should I have taken that trade? Most of the time, I'm like, well, okay, if I'm honest about it, yeah, I should have taken that trade. But on the flip side of that, Dan, I am definitely of the opinion that, if you are going to trade, even though you've been beat up, that if you get a valid trade, you still need to take it. But with, much reduced position size is fine. If you're taking a 10% position size, if you're going to trade and you are going to do it, then nothing wrong with taking the trade, but taking a 1% position size, just so you don't get out of the habit, or you don't start picking and choosing which trades you want. If they're valid, you should take them, as long as they're in your trade plan, as long as there's not too much correlation and so forth. So, and that's what I've done. I've reduced my position sizes on a lot of stuff down to a quarter position now because of the volatility and because I've been in a drawdown. Although, like I said, this week was positive, so I'm grateful for that. Brian says, I'm probably just going to study more and catch up on homework. That's a good kid. I don't mean kid in a bad way, Brian. You know what I mean. But you're a young guy. So I hope you don't take that the wrong way. But I'm proud of you. My gosh. Can you imagine? Brian's 18 years old, and he is sitting in here listening to a podcast about trading and investing. If Brian was a stock, I'd buy him. He says, the second part of the story is that the general wins the battle. I am trying to put across that when trading or anything in life, we put in 101 perseverance and effort and don't look back. There you go. You are correct, sir. Good story and good point. Good point. It's such a balancing act with trading. Of course, you want to work hard and you want to persevere and keep going. But there's the flip side to just make sure it's when you have valid position sizes, and there's nothing wrong with lowering your position size at all, especially with increased volatility, especially if you've been in a drawdown. But very good, very good. Thanks, Bing He. Kamal, no, I did not take CCL. Nice double bottom, bullish divergence, but no trigger. Today would have been a nice little V2, horrible V1 day bar, but of course, an under 30, over 30, I can take stand alone, but an under 30, over 30 with a double bottom and a double bottom with the bullish divergence and a bad V1 is fine, right? And I target the 50 RSI, but no, sir, I did not take it. Brian says, LOL, thanks. You're welcome, bud. All right, so current positions, quarter position of Apple, going to hold this above the 250. We'll see what happens. Do you see how today we went higher than yesterday and closed below? That's why it's painting the green triangle. Now, Monday, if it goes up, this green triangle will stay here. If it goes down, it will disappear. So if I could get a painted green triangle on Monday to the upside, it would mean that we have a high. We went higher and lower, which is negative, but then went up, which is positive when you have a bullish bar that immediately follows a bearish bar. And then if we get above the 200, that would be sweet, but we'll see what happens. Gold has been great. It's been on a 3-day tear. Goldman Sachs did hold halfway of the washout bar. You can see it almost exactly touched close to that halfway. So it was showing that support did hold, and that's what I was looking for. And then, of course, SPY. We'll see what happens with the SPY. Joe Turner says, yard work this weekend for me. Well, that's good. That's a good, healthy endeavor. A nice break makes your yard look nice. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for all the poems, you and Frank. One day you're going to have to explain to us your process of coming up with these poems. I mean, does it take you a day to do it? Do you just bust it out in 5 minutes? Do you think about it and then write it? It'd be interesting to know what your process was, Joe. And Joe says, see you Monday, Greg. Thanks. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend. Have fun with the yard work. Zach says, thank you, Greg. Talk to everyone soon. Thank you, Zach. All right. Well, that's about it. Just let you go just with my daily suggestion of please, try to do something nice for somebody today. Reach out to them on the phone, check in with them, see how they're doing, see if they have everything they need. They would really appreciate it. And let's try to do that every day, right? Especially in these times. And then lastly, again, on the way out, if you haven't hit the thumbs up button, I would really appreciate that. Brian says, I want to learn more about that double bullish divergence thing, so I'm probably going to try to learn that. You know, in the description of this video, Brian, I have my recommended books, and there's one called The New Trading for a Living by Dr. Alexander Elder. I'm pretty sure I have it in there. You might want to order that book on Amazon or wherever you get books, because that's the big part of his trading and the double bottom with the bullish divergences. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. Have a safe weekend. Be good. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And look forward to seeing you next week on Monday during the last hour of the market. So thanks again. Take care, everybody. Bye now. U.S. government required disclaimer. Stock, options, futures, and forex trading is not appropriate for everyone. While there is a potential for large rewards, there is also a substantial risk of loss associated with trading. The material in this video or live broadcast is not geared towards any particular individual or to any particular financial situation and is not intended to meet the particular investment objectives of any viewer. This video or live broadcast, like all instructional materials produced by Gossett Trading and Mentoring LLC, is created and published for informational and educational purposes only. Any and all information contained in, implied, or referenced by this video or live broadcast is not to be construed as investment advice, and no representation is made that any individual or entity involved in production of this video or live broadcast is an investment or financial advisor or is registered or authorized to give any financial advice. We are publishers and educators only. Therefore, the various producers of this video or live broadcast will not accept liability for any loss or damage of any kind which may arise either directly or indirectly out of the use of any of this material, including any loss of profit. No representation is made that any account or investment will or is likely to achieve the profit or losses demonstrated. We recommend consultation with a licensed and qualified professional before making any investment decision. This video or live broadcast is not to be construed as an offer to buy or sell any security, financial instrument, or financial product of any kind. Notice is hereby given that any individual or entity involved in production of this video or live broadcast or their clients may have an interest in any security, financial instrument, or financial product mentioned or referenced. Any simulated or hypothetical performance result depicted does not represent actual trading and therefore may under or overcompensate for the impact of various market factors such as lack of liquidity. Thank you.